Good evening and welcome to Headingley. A bitterly cold wind blowing up here on the gantry. Leeds Rhinos to play the Halifax Blue Sox after 3 fine wins over Wakefield, Castleford and Wigan. Leeds are only 2 points behind the Halifax Blue Sox, who failed to open up that gap last week at Hull, going down 36-18 over on Humberside at the Boulevard. Leeds looking to continue that winning run after a disappointing start to the season against the Halifax Blue Sox side, ravaged by injuries. No such problems for Dean Lance. His only problem is Richie Blackmore resting a niggling injury. Francis Cummins, Paul Sterling, Chev Walker, Keith Senior and Carl Pratt at the backs. Yestin Harris, Ryan Sheridan the half-backs. Darren Fleary, Lee Jackson, Barry McDermott, Adrian Morley, David Barnhill and Andy Hay the forwards, with Anthony Farrell, Darryl Powell, Graham Mackay, Jamie Matthew on the bench. Martin Pearson is called back by referee John Connolly to have a second go at kicking off as Aston Yestin Harris pops it up for Adrian Morley. Halifax, Damien Gibson at fullback, former Leeds player, as is Phil Hassan, and his other winger is Ollie Mans, Greg Florimore and Jim Naylor are the centres. Martin Pearson and Andrew Dunneman are the half-backs. Andy Hobson, Matty Firth, Jim Gannon, Gary Mercer, Jamie Bloom, Marty Moana are the forwards. Lakini Savelio, Danny Tickle, who only went 17 last month, Gail Tallick and Darryl Cardis, who missed the match at Hull with injury, on the bench, and an opening for Barnhill. Dunneman points to Gibson to take him. Gibson goes out wide and Tex Sterling saw the pass coming, but a great run from Barnhill puts them on the attack. Sheridan to Harris, chip over the top from Yestin Harris. Perhaps a waste of opportunity there from Harris as Mans picks it up and tries to come away out of defence and gets to the 20-metre line. Gary Mercer pushes away Morley, then tries to go round the outside. Put down by Pratt and Senior. Tries to get up and continue the run, but isn't able to do so. Florimore down the middle looking for support. Dunneman just a little bit late getting for the pass. Matty Firth making his debut. Andy Hobson charging forward, but Leeds are adjudged to be offside. Naylor takes a quick one. Naylor can't get away from Barnhill, gives it to Gibson. Gibson trying to go in between Walker and Sterling. Good thinking by Naylor for the quick penalty. Gannon shoulders off McDermott and then he's wrapped up by Fleary. McDermott round the legs and Jackson there as well. Halifax on the 20. Dunneman out to Moana. Moana trying to step inside, pushes Andy A away. Morley comes as a reinforcement. Moana's turned upside down in what John Connolly says was an illegal tackle. Mercer taken exception to it and Morley was quick off the blocks with the arms going there. Body's in the way from up here on the gantry, but no doubt Moana's legs went up in the air and it was dropped down, so it looks as though Pearson will go for goal from what should be a fairly simple distance, although he's kicking against the wind. So penalty to Halifax. Pearson looking to add to his quite handsome total he's achieved so far this season. Leeds will go above Halifax if they win this evening on a far superior points difference. Gary Mercer is looking to lay the ghost of last season to rest as Pearson misses when Halifax lost 70 points to 22 in the middle of a cash crisis, and on that night a playing crisis as well. So Pearson misses first shot at goal against the wind. Drop out is taken by Gibson, who returns it back to the halfway line, disappearing under Sheridan and Barnhill. Firth gives it to Bloom, who had to be taken off the field on a stretcher at Hull last Sunday, but managed to respond this week to treatment. as Hobson is down on the 40 by McDermott. Pearson to Gannon. And I would expect that with the likes of Gannon, McDermott and Morley, there'll be one or two big hits going in tonight. Dunneman on the last tackle, across field, coming down for Mans, who's knocked on. Couldn't pick it up off the bounce, but got up high enough on the kick. Senior running it out of defence. Halifax penalised for offside. Dunneman in quickly on Senior. Harris puts it into touch, just short of the 40. Fleary, 5 metres from halfway. 3 to meet him. Firth, Gannon and Mercer. Gannon's there again, and so is Firth on halfway to bring down Jackson. Big test for Matty Firth against Lee Jackson, who has years of experience behind him. Barry McDermott, Dunneman in quickly round the legs, and Bloom round the top. Leeds in the Halifax half again. Andy A throwing the dummy, shrugging off Mercer, turning it away to Morley. Morley on Gibson. Gibson keeps on long enough. Moana assisting in the tackle, but Halifax pen back on the last one. Harris, long ball out wide to Walker. Philosan moving in quickly. Good tackling from Philosan and Jim Naylor on Chev Walker, who scored a hat-trick for the Yorkshire Academy last week. Philosan, of course, a former Leeds player. Firth at acting half, will try and go on his own. Looks tiny, does Mattis Firth against Barnhill and indeed Chev Walker. Halifax centre field, 3 Leeds defenders there. Back to Pearson. Florimo sees a gap. Florimo hasn't got the pace, he has support from Mans. Mans sticks it well, and Morley copped him round the well, it was high, not high enough round the head, says Connolly. But good tracking back by Morley. Florimo didn't have the pace. Good support from Mans, and tackles going in high there as well on Paul Sterling, I think, from Halifax. Walker on the 40, driven back by Moana and Bloom. Plenty of enthusiasm from both sides in the opening minutes. Barnhill, Bloom making sure he's stopped down. McDermott against Mercer, and Matty Firth there as well. Good tackling. Ball goes out wide. Morley playing as centre. Hobson moving out to mark him with Pearson on the last tackle. Back to Sheridan, who'll put up the high one. Swirling one, awkward one for Gibson, does well underneath it. Steps Harris, but then runs out of options as 4 Leeds players close in and 3 make the tackle. 15 metres out from Halifax line. Naylor trying to go down the middle, can't get through Fleary. Jamie Bloom down on one knee, I think he's just fastened his boots up actually, as Mans tries to help out the forwards. Mercer without the considerable size of goal spink this evening, as Mercer bounces off a defender again, pushes Andy A away. But there's numbers there, Senior and Morley for Leeds of the tacklers. Hobson off the short ball from Firth, drives it up to and just over halfway. Golden and Rowley also missing for the Halifax Blue Sox. Last tackle, Moana gives it back to Dunneman as there appeals for a forward pass. Connolly looked at the touch judge. Touch judge didn't see anything wrong with it, and Carl Pratt's forced back to 3 metres from his own line with a kick, and will go outside Mans. Mans will get him enough to slow him down, and Pearson clatters Pratt to the ground with a head-on tackle. Francis Cummins just running along the Halifax defensive line, but John Connolly has seen something, has it? No. McDermott into Bloom and Moana, and John Connolly has seen a forward pass, I think, there. Well, it's an indication of a forward pass or a knock on, I'm not sure which one, but it's Halifax possession, and Halifax have 2 men on the short side that go open as Pearson gives it to Naylor. And Naylor into A and Morley. Fleary third man in, just inside the Leeds 40. With 8 minutes gone, no score. Just that Pearson attempt from the penalty, which has really been the only chance so far that either side have had. Gannon is hammered by McDermott, and Jackson and Fleary there as well. Gannon wants to get up and play it quickly. Jackson messing about to play the ball. Dunneman off to Bloom, straight into the arms of Jackson. Well, nothing wrong with the pass. Just seemed to shoot through the arms of Jamie Bloom. Harris, well tackled by Dunneman, finished off by Bloom on the way down. Fleary throws the dummy, goes himself. Moana and Gannon are there closing it down. Halifax are riding the luck on the offside. And the Leeds supporters in the south stand are claiming for slowing down tactics. Chev Walker running across Francis Cummins. Referee Connolly says play on. May have been an obstruction there as Walker's dragged back a couple of metres over the Halifax 30. Sheridan, long ball out wide to Andy. Looked back inside to Morley for support, then decided to go on his own. Florimo brings him down 22 metres out from the Halifax line. Sheridan saw Morley had stepped over the mark and has gone for a huge kick, putting Hassan under pressure. Hassan does well to defuse the bomb behind his own line. Sterling chasing the kick. And Phil Hassan is willing to take the ball up against his former club. Connolly slows it down and brings Leeds back to the 10, and Halifax have to start and make only 5 metres. Mercer, 4 years as captain at Leeds, Gary Mercer. Gannon gets over the advantage line. Good tackling from Jackson around the legs. Dunneman looking for options down the middle and has to turn back. Went on his own, nobody went with him, and so he'll take the tackle on halfway. Firth steps round Fleary and then cops one with Jackson coming back into play. Dunneman chips over the top and then it comes off McDermott. Firth just knocking it on. It's picked up by Cummins. Cummins had Carl Pratt screaming outside him for the pass. Cummins stepping over the prostrate body of Jamie Bloom on the 40. They're certainly not lacking action and passing in this opening 11 minutes as Chev Walker is tackled by Naylor on halfway. He had a second attempt there and got away with it. Sterling just needs one more try, does Paul Sterling, for 400 career points. Quite a strike rate, not bad for a man that was languishing in the Leeds second team around Christmas time. Ball coming loose there. And Moana shrugs away Sheridan. Moana tries to get away from Cummins. And a quicker reaction might have brought more yards there for Moana. Phil Hassan, hand off on Barry McDermott, but not managing to shrug him away. Firth to Mercer. And Mercer wrapped up by Yestin Harris and Keith Senior. Florimo across field. Dunneman quick hands out to Naylor. And Naylor has got a bit of a gap. Naylor has Cummins to beat. Walker chasing him. Naylor has turned round, was running out of options inside to Gibson, and Gibson's run back into trouble. Naylor to Moana. Harris out quickly on Moana, who unloads on the floor. Dunneman to Bloom. Bloom away from Morley. Bloom away from Barnhill. Just Cummins to beat for Jamie Bloom, and Bloom will score in front of a fairly small Halifax following, but Halifax kept the ball alive. And it looked as though Moana was wrapped up. Naylor looked as though he'd taken the wrong option and stopped when the defence were in front of him. Gibson went the same way down a blind alley. Moana managed to shovel one out the back. It went on the floor. Dunneman picked it up to Bloom. And Bloom, well, he beat 3 players on his way to the line. One of them had his hand on it. I think it's Francis Cummins. But Bloom managed to shake him off. And Halifax, who must be rank outsiders for this game, going on Leeds form and the injuries that they're suffering, have shocked the Leeds Rhinos with a Jamie Bloom try after 13 minutes. Halifax Blue Sox 4, Leeds Rhinos 0. And Pearson launches that one over the scoreboard and into somebody's garden. at the back of the ground. And the Halifax Blue Sox, after playing some attractive rugby, keeping the ball alive, and no little skill from Jamie Bloom, the kick from Pearson, and it's 6-0 to the Halifax Blue Sox. So Yestin Harris will line up the ball. And although Leeds put in a magnificent performance, it has to be said, against Wigan, the wins over Castleford and Wakefield were hard fought and close encounters in the final analysis, as Gannon tries to step Barnell on the 20 and Fleary makes the tackle. Pass missing out, Florimo going to Hobson, who's tackled by Senior and Hay. Greg Florimo straightens up down the middle, looked dangerous in the opening moments. Dunneman has stepped the defence and has found a bit of a gap as Dunneman. He's beat three, he's beat Francis Cummins. Will he go to the line? He's got it out to Marnes. Marnes will have to cut back inside, short stud sliding on the surface, managing to get up out of two tackles. Marnes under the swinging arm of Adrian Morley, and Leeds on the rack again as Halifax pour forward. Pearson goes on his own. Got two at Hull from the acting half position last week. Florimo kicks one through on the floor. Chev Walker manages somehow to control it with his knees before he picks it up. Halifax need to defend. Barnill's put down 8 metres away from the Leeds try line. Sterling beats the outstretched arms of Bloom, but there's two backing up, Dunneman and Gannon. Fleary into Mercer and Hobson, but Halifax are penalised for the offside. Easy yards for Yestin Harris with a kick to touch. Not something Gary Mercer would have wanted to see from his side, because they had Leeds under pressure. But Leeds are now back in the Halifax half with McDermott, who's matched pound for pound and size in the tackle by Florimo. Sheridan takes a bullet of a pass from Jackson at acting half. Andy A having the same trouble as Marnes and losing his footing going down, allowing an easy tackle. Senior will try and go around the outside. Good tackling from Jim Naylor. Sterling at acting half inside to Walker. Walker into Dunneman and Bloom. And Leeds 15 metres away, looking for a quick response to that Bloom try. Sheridan, who's Leeds' top try scorer with 13. And it looks like that's... well, this Darryl Powell's on. I'm not sure who's gone off. As Powell lobs one over the top, Jackson. There's options out wide. Hassan left on a 2-1. Walker slips it inside to Senior, and Senior out of the grasp. Senior manages to get it down. Well, Halifax were sucked in defence. And the long ball out wide. Powell's first touch. Not the most orthodox of rugby passers. Leeds kept it coming out wide. And Keith Senior, after Walker had been down a couple of metres short, Keith Senior almost held up in the tackle, but managing with the momentum to get his body near the line and put the ball down, and Leeds hit back, and it's taken them only 3 minutes with the try from Senior. The score now is the Leeds Rhinos 4, Halifax Blue Sox 6. Kicked 60 goals this season. Make that 61 for Yestin Harris. Never seems to be troubled from any angle. So the good work that Halifax had done is all undone by some sloppy defending after giving away the penalty. The Leeds Rhinos are back level. Almost a quarter of this game over, 19 minutes gone. And Yestin Harris juggling with that one before making it safe and unloading to Andy Hay. Darryl Powell going inside, that's a high tackle from Bloom. Well, Another piggyback penalty for Leeds, as Yestin Harris launches another one down onto that 30-metre line on the far side of the field. Leeds will go on the attack again, and Halifax have proved failing defence from this from a very similar position already a couple of minutes ago. Will the outcome be the same? Fleary down the middle, almost shrugged Firth off. He managed to hang on till Hobson got there. Sheridan back to Jackson, Jackson to Andy A. Gannon hanging on, Firth there as well. Quick play the ball from Jackson up to Powell, and Powell allowed a little bit of room almost. The outstretched arm of Hobson just managing to keep hold. Sheridan to Farrell, another Leeds replacement, so that's two in the first 20 minutes. Walker shrugged away Gibson and Hobson and gets to within 2 metres, and this is similar. Walker was brought down a couple of metres away before, and Leeds stacking players on that far side, and Senior's off again, gets the ball out to Carl Pratt, and Leeds will score a second try. And the only difference being that this one came at the other side of the field. Halifax gave the penalty away again. Walker brought down 2 metres away. Halifax left light on the outside as men were sucked into the middle, and the long pass out, Senior over the top to Carl Pratt, leads into double figures, and for the first time in the lead at 10 points to 6. And after a spirited opening quarter from both sides, Halifax's underdogs took the shock lead, but they've been made to pay. But Leeds have been assisted by those 2 indiscretions which have put Leeds in the Halifax red zone. But Yestin Harris, well, I said he wasn't troubled where the ball was, seemed to be on that occasion. So the gap stays at 4 points with 22 minutes gone. Halifax have made a change. They brought on Darryl Cardis. Gibson has moved up to centre, and Jim Naylor is taking a breather. Florimo strong in defence in the Leeds 20, which is where Halifax will be looking to keep Leeds. McDermott, Florimo again. McDermott manages to unload to Jackson, and there's options here with men out wide. Farrell goes back on the inside, pushes Dunneman away, and Gibson, but not Hassan. Another penalty to Leeds. And another big kick from Yestin Harris. Cardis on at fullback for Halifax Blue Sox. Fleary met head on by Gannon, and then Hobson there as well. But Leeds will be looking no doubt to stack men on the outside. McDermott down the middle, took 3 men to stop him, and Gannon went in high, and I think Gary Mercer's having words with Jim Gannon, and this will be one in front of the post, and Jim Gannon's off for the swinging arm. So Halifax reduced to 12 men, the position which they were in for 60 minutes last week at Hull, and it showed. So Leeds will be allowed the extra man. And Yestin Harris will be left a simple shot in front of goal. So it looks as though Gary Mercer has enough problems with injuries, will now lose a man through suspension if that swinging arm is deemed by the disciplinary committee to warrant a suspension. And Yestin Harris from in front of goal, 2 points. And the Leeds Rhinos lead at the Halifax Blue Sox after 20 minutes, ahead in late by 12 points to 6. So Leeds again given a penalty by Halifax. Again another indiscretion, but Jim Gannon in front of the post, and I think Gary Mercer had a few words to Jim Gannon before he actually left the field, because he would have been looking for discipline, and he's looking for 100%, 110% effort is Gary Mercer from his players this evening. Well, they're going to need a little bit more as each player now against a 13-man Rhino side. Senior got through Pearson, got through Florimo, and Bloom and Mercer had to do the work. Powell short ball to Fleary. Good tackling from Firth round the legs, but Fleary's over halfway. The Rhinos back in the Halifax half. Powell has shrugged away from Moana. Cardis chasing Powell. Ball goes forward, and Cardis will collect it gratefully for Halifax, because Leeds were on the rampage. Hassan running centre field, unloads to Matty Firth. Firth continues the move. Good yards for Halifax, all important to get away from their own line, as Hassan goes again from acting half into Farrell, Fleary and McDermott. Mercer, first time Mercer's been tackled, I think first time with the ball. Powell showing how it should be done as Florimo drives forward to shouts a forward pass from the south stand. Halifax on the Leeds 40. Dunneman over the top for Cardis to chase, depends on the bounce, and Cummins gets it ahead of Cardis. Well, always a 50-50 ball, and it came up for Cummins. Andrew Dunneman looking to get Halifax back in the game, and it's paid dividends in other matches early in the season as that combination of Dunneman and Cardis, but not on this occasion, as Carl Pratt brings it back for Leeds, who's a long way off his wing at that far side. Now he drifts back over as the tackle's made on halfway. Powell claiming for the slowing the ball down. Farrell away from two, gets the pass away to Walker. Good tackling from Gibson from behind. Walker gets up and has a second go, and then he's put down. Crunch time now for Halifax on the fifth tackle. Men over on that far side for Leeds again. Halifax lacking the numbers when they move across. Goes inside to McDermott, and McDermott has lost the ball as he went over the line. Well, Barry McDermott would have never have scored an easier try, but the ball is lost, and that's great defence from Daryl Cardis on the Leeds prop. Marnes to the 10, having to run it into the forwards. Halifax playing with 5. Mercer's one of them, and he only makes 4 metres. Firth to Hobson. 28 minutes gone. Hobson shovel was out the back to Cardis. How he managed that I don't know, but Cardis unable to take advantage as he looks for a gap. Pearson out to Florimo. Florimo almost shrugging Senior away. Marnes inside to Mercer. Mercer again brushes off the first attempted tackle, then goes into Pratt and Senior. Fifth tackle, back to Pearson. Crossfield kick for Pearson, and Cummins is leaving it for Sterling, and Sterling, opponent attacking a force from anywhere on the field, picks it up, but the chase is good from Moana and Dunneman. Cummins almost stepping Firth, who's had quite an impressive debut in defence. He's certainly put the tackles in as Firth, and he's had a couple of little darting runs, providing good service. Powell, Dunneman read the pass, and Powell decided he had to go on his own. Mix up at the play, the ball, must have been a knock on there. Sheridan goes through, Jamie Bloom brings him down. Fifth tackle. Halifax needing to be alert. Here goes Yestin Harris, anything could happen now. Well, Dunneman's brought him down. Gibson's making sure the ball carrying arm goes down. Yestin Harris looks a bit nonplussed as he hands the ball over there. Phil Hassan will take another run up for the Blue Sox and gets it away to Dunneman. Dunneman to Firth. Firth stepping one way, then the other, and then trying to go forward. and meeting the arm of Darren Fleary. Florimo from acting half, who's almost away from McDermott, looked round for the support, nobody there. Firth to Hobson. Hobson beats McDermott. Good tackling from Walker and Sheridan. Dunneman gives it to Pearson. Pearson steps through one tackle, can't get through Farrell's though. Lee Jackson messing about the play, the ball again, trying to turn Pearson over onto his back. Dunneman will step, and Pearson leaves it for Hassan. There's a bit of a gap there, quickly closed up by Yestin Harris. Last tackle on the half hour. Dunneman, crossfield kick. Cardis is there again, it's an awkward bouncer. Walker picks it up, and off goes Sterling, but Hassan, great covering from nowhere really. Phil Hassan there, and the touch judge has not seen anything there. Gibson has setting something off Paul Sterling. Doesn't tell half his story for Gary Mercer's men. And Gibson obviously copped something then, as Harris almost takes out the camera. John Connolly's had a word with Greg Florimo. He's having another one with him. And Graham Mackay on for the Leeds Rhinos. So Dean Lance using 3 of his replacements in the first half. Gary Mercer just using Darryl Cardis at the moment, but Leeds on the attack. And precious minutes now for the Blue Sox with 8 minutes to go to half time. Andy A on the rampage. Had Cummings on his inside, tackle was made, couldn't get the ball away. Halifax could be light on the outside again. Senior going round the outside, Miles stuck with the winger, and Senior is going to be allowed to make the kick a lot easier for Yestin Harris. And Key Senior in for his second try as Halifax are left light on the outside again in the 32nd minute. Eyes up the 2, and no problem for Yestin Harris. 18 points to the Leeds Rhinos, 6 to the Halifax Blue Sox. And I do apologise, it wasn't Mackay that came on, it's Jamie Matthew who's on for the Leeds Rhinos. And we're saying there's keen time for Halifax just before half time. 6 minutes to go to half time, and Halifax might have had chance of a second win perhaps if they could have held out till half time. But the man advantage telling, and Carl Pratt managed to get the ball away despite the attention of Ollie Marnes, and Halifax are struggling out wide again, and Matthew has gone back on the inside, fortunately for the Blue Sox. Powell out to Sheridan, good tackling from Gibson, who had a casual look then, did Gibson, at the touch judge, as much to say, was that one alright? As Leeds come forward again with Jackson to Sheridan, Gibson and Hassan. Gibson throwing the punch at Hassan, Sheridan, and words still being spoken as Florimo gives Leeds 6 more with a hand on the ball. Floodlights coming in at Headingley. Jamie Matthew, good tackling from Firth, round the ankles. Sheridan, stepping, Sheridan, away from Cardis, looking for support. Senior's away, in for his hat-trick, and that could be the killer for the Halifax Blue Sox. Senior in for his third, and a 22 points to 6. Halifax always up against it with 12 men. and Sheridan split the Halifax defence, and Senior, who's helped himself to a first half hat-trick. Four tries, 4 conversions for the Leeds Rhinos. 24 points to 6, a huge lead, building up against the 12 men of the Halifax Blue Sox. So it could be turning into another disaster at Headingley for the Halifax Blue Sox. 24 points to 6, a man down. And Carl Pratt released on that far side. Pearson won't catch him, Cardis might. Pearson had a go. Pratt's turning Cardis inside out. Cardis will chase Pratt, but Connolly's called it all the way back. John Connolly has called it all the way back up to the 20-metre line. And I think John Connolly has a bit of a smile on his face there. Well, we've seen a forward pass. I don't know how forward it was, but it's given Halifax possession. Brilliant running by Carl Pratt. Leeds supporters cheering. Only cheering the run though, because there's no cigar at the end of it for Carl Pratt. But I'm sure it won't be the last attempt he'll have in this game to outstrip the Halifax defence. Florimo moves into stand-off. Halifax desperately needing points in the remaining 2 minutes of this first half. Savelio on for the Halifax Blue Sox. Dunneman. Talick also on for the Blue Sox. Mercer throwing everything perhaps into this last couple of minutes to try and steal some points and keep them within striking distance. Florimo unloads to Pearson. Pearson has a chance. Chev Walker round the top. Well, that's a swinging arm, so why don't he go off? Same for one, same for the other. But it's given Halifax the second penalty of their match. Talick runs it in, can't shrug off the Leeds defenders. Matty Firth to Dunneman. Dunneman going round the back, gives it to Cardis. Cardis always around about where Dunneman is, but can't find the opening in the Leeds defence. Mercer to Bloom. Scored Halifax's only try, struggling to score his second. Dunneman. Now there may be a chance, but Dunneman's gone back and been caught and let go, and then he's finally caught and grounded. 9 metres out into the last minute. Pearson to Florimo on the charge, but Florimo brought down 5 metres away, trying to get up and play it quickly. Hooter sounds, last tackle. John Connolly's called time off with the ball still in play, with Halifax attacking, and any hope that they have a late score vanishing with that sound of the hooter. After an opening 20 minutes, there was a 90 mile an hour end-to-end stuff. Only Pearson's early attempt at a penalty, which he missed, the opening opportunities. Then Jamie Bloom, after some Halifax had kept the ball alive through 3 or 4 pair of hands, when it looked as though Bloom may have been tackled, he beat 3 or 4 men on his way to the line under the post, and a shock lead for Halifax at 4 points to 0. No problem for Pearson this time in front of the post at 6-0, but it's been all Leeds from then. It took Leeds only 5 minutes to reply with Keith Senior's first try after Halifax were kept caught cold out wide as they stacked men in the middle. Harris converted, and then another try on the other side of the field when Halifax was sucked in again from Carl Pratt in the 21st minute. No conversion from Harris, and then the turning point possibly in the match when Gannon was sent off. Halifax were reduced to 12 men And then 2 further tries by Keith Senior, a penalty and 2 conversions from Yestin Harris, and Leeds are well in control at the halfway stage at Headingley. It's the Leeds Rhinos 24, Halifax Blue Sox 6. Leeds ahead 24-6 as John Connolly hands out some instructions. Yestin Harris gets the second half underway. Well, I'm sure Dean Lance will be well pleased with Leeds' first half performance, albeit against 12 men. Gary Mercer will have a lot of rallying to do at half time for his troops, and it could turn into a damage limitation exercise for the Halifax Blue Sox. Savelio getting just over the 30. Talik off the pass from Firth, takes it just over the 40. And back to Pearson for a 40-20 early in the count, which bounces up for Cummins. So Leeds will mount the counter-attack. Firth, good tackle on Cummins. Very good tackle from the youngster. Carl Pratt is trying to get in on the act. Gets brought down just short of the 30. Sterling almost through. Savelio managing to keep hold of him. Bloom there as well to finish off the tackle. Matthew on the Leeds 40. Tackle by Talik and Mercer. Jackson inside to Fleary. Good tackling again from Firth. Downstairs, no nonsense. Having said that, a man of that size is going to have trouble stopping anybody around the top. Going to have trouble probably reaching anybody around the top. Is Halifax hooker, but doing a fairly admirable job in the absence of Paul Rowley. Going on his own again. Cardis had shouted for it. Mercer into Powell, 3 men there on the tackle. Florimo off to Savelio, down the middle, just short of some support. A little bit sooner there was Lucchini Savelio. Bloom not able to take any advantage as he slid down onto one knee. Last tackle, Dunneman will put the kick up. That could be an awkward one for Carl Pratt as he lets it bounce. Mans has time to pick it up, give it inside to Florimo, and Florimo can't release. Last tackle, unfortunate there. There could have been a chance for Halifax had Florimo been able to get the pass away. Carl Pratt put under pressure, left the awkward ball alone. Powell out to Andy Hay. Andy Hay looking to turn it back inside, so Florimo stood there. Decided to take the tackle. Powell shrugs off Mans, but not Firth and Bloom 15 metres out from the Leeds line. Matthew steps Firth, steps Bloom, steps Pearson, and then steps himself and falls into the arms of Mercer. Leeds stacking men on this far side, and now they move it out wide with Harris. Harris goes on the outside, takes the Sam with him, manages to get it away to Sterling, who comes back inside on a straight run across the field, and is tackled by Bloom. Back to Powell. Powell all wrapped up. Bloom again, good tackling. Leeds supporters becoming a bit agitated, and there's only 3 minutes gone in the second half. As a downtown kick comes from Sheridan. He's following it. Cardis trying to step, trying to push every yard out of that run. It's Daryl Cardis. Philosan, who's taking the ball up a lot for Halifax tonight, helping out the forwards. Savelio, 5 metres from halfway. Tackled by Matthew and Jackson. Dunneman out to Florimo, well taken, gets it away to Mans. Mans will have to go back on the inside and met on by Senior. 2-on-1 for Mans, had no option. Dunneman to Pearson, long ball out wide to Bloom, came off a Leeds hand surely. going to give the knock on, but it must have gone forward off of Lee's hand. The touch judge has seen it on the far side. I think he's giving the decision. John Connolly waved play on. He certainly didn't give the advantage because there was none, as Leeds had knocked it on anyway. Dunneman to Pearson, kick through for Cardis, chances here on for Cardis on the bounce against Pratt, and Pratt does well to pick it up. Well, you need a little bit of luck, and tonight it's just not gone Halifax's way. Cardis had a 50-50 bounce and was picked up by Cummins in the first half when Cardis may have got to it, and that ball rolling away from Cardis. Knew exactly what Dunneman was doing. No full back at home for Leeds on that occasion. Perhaps thinking that they don't need one. Away it goes to Fleary. Fleary has support, trying to turn Cardis inside out. That's a great tackle from Cardis, but again that took a look. The ball goes backwards. Harris out to Senior, on for 4 tries. Man's chasing him. Senior away for his 4th try, and he'll stroll round behind the posts again. Tries for Senior. Halifax attacking at one end of the field, and a little bit of luck as the ball bounced away from Cardis, and a little bit of luck as it came out of the tackle and went backwards from Fleary, but Barnes and Pearson pursued Keith Senior to no avail, and Leeds will see this is a massive boost in confidence. They're away to St Helens next week. Harris misscrewed that one and it still went between the posts. So 5 tries and 5 conversions. And Leeds Rhinos 30 points, Halifax Blue Sox 6. Pearson going for the long kick, bouncing up into the arms of Andy Hayes, good as a pass. Florimo slowed Andy Hayes down, Mercer finished him off, inside to Fleary. Mercer there again with Savelio. Fleary trying to milk the penalty. Harris long ball out wide, Halifax could be left struggling outside again as Farrell comes on the inside, chased by Bloom. Cardis there as well, and Leeds look as though they could score virtually at will. Harris to Powell. Bloom had already committed himself to the tackle. Powell looking to unload and going down before Jackson got within range of the pass. Jackson to Harris, out to Sheridan. Sheridan to Farrell, knocked out of his balance by Gibson, but Gibson is struggle there. Play continues as Gibson is clutching his stomach by the look of it on the floor. So Halifax could be down to 11 men. Well, they are down to 11 men for the moment as Hassan runs it out again from his own line. Mercer wanted somebody behind him there, only managed to get to the 10 before he was brought down by Powell. Mans from acting half through the first tackle of Harris, but there's always backup in defence for the Leeds Rhinos. Bloom down the middle. Gibson still receiving attention. He's going to well, he wants to play on, does Damien Gibson. Took a fairly heavy knock as Dunneman runs one way, then the other, turns back again, still going forward is Dunneman, and then eventually succumbs to the tackle. Pearson, last tackle. Pearson opts for the run, little chip through. Jackson was already there, so not causing an obstruction, and Sterling is tackled with some more Sterling work by Phil Hassan. Walker taken by Savelio. Dunneman's gone down after a heavy knock. Could be an expensive night for this Gary Mercer in terms of league points and in terms of bodies as well. And with matches against Wigan at home and St Helens at home next week, after a start which has seen Halifax maintain that 5th place for a few weeks, the effect of losing players of a small squad means that they could be fading into mid-table obscurity over the next 3 weeks. The task certainly made no easier by the fact that there's only 12 white shirts, and now without the key playmaker Andrew Dunneman, well, that is a big blow for the Halifax Blue Sox. Dunneman, a key man in both attack and defence, regularly gets through 40 tackles a match, which you'll not see from many other scrum halves, as Keith Senior takes that one on his chest. Martin Moana's back on for the Blue Sox, so he could go to stand off with Pearson to scrum half. Mercer's moved up to prop. Tallick and Bloom in the second row. Cardis trying the stepping run, but Powell reeling him in. Savelio taking the ball from Moana, but not in the most effective of ways, almost standing still. Pearson to Mercer. Shouts of a forward pass. And Halifax get a penalty, which Mercer tries to take a quick tap and take advantage of, and then he's buried by Andy A. Bloom shrugs away Andy A. Lee Jackson hangs on till the cavalry get there to finish off the tackle. Bloom complaining that Leeds are slowing it down. Pearson ducks underneath one, ducks underneath two, still going. Ball goes to ground. And Leeds will get possession. Nice little bit of work from Pearson. Ball comes loose on the floor. And Leeds giving a penalty in front of their own post. Harris is off. And Savelio makes the tackle. Sterling. Good tackling from Tallick. And Leeds supporters complaining that Halifax are going in heavy. Well, it's a rough game. They've got to be tough to play it. But Leeds moving forward in attack again. Harris up the middle of the field. Good tackle by Firth. Sheridan quickly from acting half. Gives it inside to Powell. Almost losing it. And that in turn slowed him down and allowed Mercer to make the tackle. Connolly with a hand in the air. 5th tackle. Cummins the kick to the corner, testing Hassan, pressure on from Sterling and Walker, but great work from Phil Hassan in defence, and Hassan manages to unload it to Damien Gibson, who sets off on a run away from the Halifax line, ended by Sterling and Harris, and Sterling's come out the worst of that one as Cardis goes on the far side. Smaller men trying to inject a little bit of pace. Pearson had to slow down to take the ball, so much so that he couldn't get the pass away. Mercer watched by Andy A and Keith Senior. Savelio out to Bloom, and Bloom back to Moana. Moana all wrapped up, he's in midfield, shovels one out the back, and the knock-on's being given against Tallick, who was facing his own post when he touched that one. So Leeds on the attack again. Harris out to Senior. Senior to Cummins. who did well to take that one, and then he's hammered by Florimore. Senior off towards Halifax line, just over the 40. Jackson acting half inside to Matthew. Leeds inside the 30. Powell, oh, I don't think we're expecting that. Senior off for another one. Cardis gets it away. Good tackling on Cardis, good pressure. Force the pass forward to Carl Pratt from Keith Senior. Dunneman has been patched up, stitched up, whatever he's had done to him, and will be coming back on for Martin Moana, so that may be in class as a blood-bin substitution. Hassan running up again for Halifax. Must be the most stitch-ups a winger's ever had in a game, I'm sure. Matty Firth almost through. Hasn't the size to push off the bigger forwards, unfortunately. Bloom, great ball to Talick. Talick has Cummins to beat, shrugs Cummins off, manages to evade Harris, but Powell gets back to make the tackle. Halifax still playing spiritedly. Dunneman has opened up a gap, steps two, gives it to Pearson. Hassan's there in support again for Pearson. Well, if it were 12 aside, Halifax would probably still be in it. Dunneman to Mercer. Mercer away to Pearson. Jackson easily taking Pearson down on the last tackle. Dunneman, anything could happen now, gives it to Firth. Firth shovels one out the back, and Pearson goes down on the floor, and Jackson makes the tackle. Well, one or two Leeds players with their hands on their knees, taking in gulps of air there as Firth tried to steal the ball from Powell. McDermott will draw some cheer from the south stand. Tackle by Mercer and Bloom. Jamie Matthew is quickly closed down by the Halifax defence. Firth, Savelio and Talick. Here go Leeds wide again though. Gap is there for Farrell. Bloom manages to turn him round and put him down. Good tackling. Matthew, now Leeds have men on this side. Good pressure from Florimore. Hayes standing up and passing the ball to Senior. Florimore will try Senior as well. McDermott's tackle still managed to get the ball away. This is where Halifax are struggling because they're lacking in numbers. Basketball skills there off to Sheridan. Sheridan will bring Walker on the inside. Pearson gets it away. Dunneman chases Harris. Harris manages to get away. Then to Matthew. Well, it's alright cheering, but Leeds have actually put 9 or 10 passes together and not gone anywhere. Last tackle, Powell inside to Andy Hay. Harris takes one from Dunneman. Leeds keep it moving still on the last tackle. Carl Pratt out to Walker. Hassan on a 2 against 1. And an interception from Pearson. If he's got the pace, outstrips Platt. I don't think he'll outstrip Sterling. But that must be a professional foul from Sterling. Slowed the play down. Pearson had nobody to play it to if he got it up anyway. Cardis out to Bloom, and Bloom's put down on the 20. Dunneman. Halifax looking for numbers and not many there. Mercer up to the 10. Florimore to Dunneman. Dunneman to Firth, who will be just wrapped up by McDermott and put to ground. Florimore steps, goes for the line, looks for support. Savelio there, but Savelio has to contend with the defenders that were already stacked. To moving on Florimore if he'd have kept the ball. Last tackle, Cardis, high tackle surely on Daryl Cardis, that's a penalty. Moana looks to take it quickly, gets it to Dunneman. Dunneman away from one. Dunneman round the back from Senior, losing ground is Dunneman. And then Jackson's over the top to make the tackle, but Leeds are adjudged to be offside. So John Connolly evening the penalty count up. Savelio is stopped 3 metres by 3 Leeds defenders. Halifax could move it out wide, but there's no man advantage for them, of course, with only having 12 men. Florimo spins in the tackle, gets it away to Moana. Moana loses his footing, gets it away to Talik. Talik has men on the outside, and a deserved try for Philosan. And Halifax have not give up. It has to be said, even though they've only had 12 men. And a deserved try for Philosan. A former Leeds man, of course. And Kyle Talik's gone down injured, so there'll be some bumps and bruises on the Halifax side. Leeds looking for that trick over Halifax. The Alliance winning 38-18 at Thrumall at the Shea a couple of days ago. The Academy have taken the points prior to this game, and Jamie Bloom has launched that one from far out on that left-hand side and has cut the lead to 30 points to 12. And Philosan was the try scorer, former Leeds player. And Bloom adding to his try from the first half with an excellent conversion. Dunham to Cardis. Cardis weaving in and out, ducks under Farrell's tackle. Got to be a penalty for that one. He sent Gannon off for a swinging arm in the first half. Well, he'd no hesitation in reaching for the red card, and John Connolly, when Jim Gannon did that in the first half. And whether there's contact or not, the intention was there from Farrell, the way the arm came out. So Halifax will be attacking again with Dunham looking for the gap, and it looks as though Martin Pearson's left the field, which is why Bloom took over the kicking duties. Moana's on at standoff. And Cardis is trying to make the yards down the middle for Halifax. McDermott is being attended to as Mercer drives the ball up. It's tackled by Yestin Harris. Moana out to Dunham to Bloom. Bloom stops the movement and takes the tackle from Senior and Powell. Florimo from acting half as Savelio in support puts out the long ball to Moana, who tries to turn, but is all wrapped up by Yestin Harris. Last tackle, Dunham still going, chips over the top if Marnes can get it, but it fell to him but then went forward, so Cummins will pick it up for Leeds. So Leeds will start from the 0 tackle, 15 metres out from their own line, inside to Powell, who's taken down on the 20. Matthew, well tackled by Savelio, turned over by Marnes, just outside the Leeds 20. Connolly moving into the play, the ball allowing Halifax a few yards extra, which he may have needed on McDermott, because he had the legs pumping then. Jackson slips on a surface that's looking increasingly slippery. Mercer in an offside position, but Barnhill takes it inside to Senior. Savelio is tackled by Carl Pratt. Leeds making a few mistakes. Halifax having a bit more of the possession, moving it out wide. Moana to Bloom. Bloom first going down the middle, then gets it back to Moana, who does well to keep all of it. Then to Cardis. Cardis is a stepper with pace. Has the chance here, Cardis. Great tackle from Cummins. Fullback on fullback. Cummins not short of pace. Firth gives it to Mercer. Mercer off towards the Leeds post, brought down 12 metres away. Halifax pushing forward. Firth to Cardis. Cardis struggling, going down. Had a chance to get the pass away and took the tackle on the 10-metre line. Mercer still on the floor. Dunham to Moana, bringing Bloom back on the inside. Bloom steps 2, gets away from a third, and then he's hammered by McDermott, but gets the ball away to Savelio, who's seen a little bit of a gap, passes the ball back rather scrappily, and Firth has to be quick to pick it up. Mercer short ball to Dunneman. Dunneman spinning round, can't get away from the tackle, slipped the ball out the back. Moana off towards the Leeds line, and Moana's got it down for the Halifax Blue Sox. And Martin Moana, well, the rest in the first half must have done him good. He's come back on in the second to replace Martin Pearson. And Martin Moana has he given Halifax a sniff for stealing this one. 30 points to 16. 30 points to 18. Halifax back within 12 points. But enough now to get both sets of it as the supporters excited. Outscoring the Leeds Rhinos 12 points to 6 to 5 in the second half for the Halifax Blue Sox. Mackay's on for Leeds. And Harris has gone for the long kick. Mercer underneath it, takes it at full pace. Round Mackay, into Carl Pratt. Good return to the 30-metre line for Gary Mercer. Firth into Savelio, who's quickly closed down by 3 Leeds defenders after making only 5 metres. With Leeds, well, Leeds will get the penalty. Savelio pleading his innocence. So Leeds are going for the 6, and probably will feel confident against the 12-man defence, but Halifax will be buoyed up by the fact that they've scored 2 tries and 2 goals in the last 6 minutes. Out to Walker. Walker steps inside, good tackling 12 metres away from the Halifax line. Halifax throwing men into defence. Leeds have men stacked on this far side. Jesse Harris with a cut out pass. Sheridan to Barnhill. Barnhill steps inside. Leeds are still 12 metres away. Quick to play the ball. Sheridan tackled by Florimo. That's the 5th tackle. Carl Pratt from acting half shows the ball and would have had a gap there, but manages to get it away to Harris. Long ball out wide to Walker. Assad left on a 2-1 again, but Sterling will get round behind the line. Nothing Philosan could do about that. Halifax, they have been so often since Jim Gannon was sent off, left with 12 men, left wanting on the outside. Philosan threw himself at Paul Sterling, couldn't make the impact, and Sterling just steadying the ship a bit for the Leeds Rhinos. When Halifax were reduced to 12 men, Justin Harris has dropped that one over after Sterling's try. 6 conversions for Justin Harris. Scores now tied in the second 40 minutes at 12 points all. Leeds though, with only 9 minutes to go, 36-18, as Bloom launches a high deep kick which Barnhill takes behind the Leeds line, but a good chase by Firth and Tickle to make the tackle 12 metres out. Graham Mackay pumping the legs to get every yard out of that run. Jackson, stray pass, Sterling has to go back for it, and Gibson hammers him. Well followed up by Gibson. Leeds back in the red zone. And he wanted to get out of there. Cummins takes it out 15 from the Leeds line. Long pass over the top to Harris again. Leeds have men out wide. Barnhill is brought down on the 20. That's good defence from Halifax, assisted by a stray pass from Leeds. It forces the downtown kick from Sheridan. Cardis goes back into his own quarter of the field to chase it. There's blue shirts in front of him, and he can't get away. Powell and Senior the tackles, and Cardis, well, look then as though the ankle may have gone again. He was slow to get to his feet. Gibson round the outside leaves Sterling. Walker gets back, but Walker can't make the tackle as Gibson is hammered to the ground by Sheridan. Good run by Gibson though. Dunneman to Bloom. Bloom steps inside, just couldn't get the pass away to the supporting Danny Tickle. Kick from Mercer. All depends on the Browns. Carl Pratt thought twice about it, but then managed to get it away from Cummins. And Cummins acres of space to work in. Hassan with a 2-on-1 again, but Sterling, well, he took a knock earlier, did Paul Sterling, whether he's just running that off. Walker, Gibson threw himself at Walker's legs. Bloom was the man that made the tackle. Powell, Leeds keep it alive with Matthew. Inside to Mackay, and Mackay from halfway to Cardis, up to the task. Great tackling from the Halifax fullback again. Doesn't shun the work at all, but Mackay, plenty of pace for a big man. Yestin Harris out to Matthew. No, looked outside, nobody outside him. Picked up by Marnes, hugging the touchline. Ollie Marnes all the way. He's got Lee Jackson chasing him. Jackson against Marnes. Jackson will give it up as Marnes goes the full length of the field after a stray pass. Great try from Marnes. Mackay almost did it. They were attacking at one end. Ball came loose. Picked up by Ollie Marnes. 90 metres. Try at the other end of the field. Well, the Halifax supporters have stayed till the end despite the scoreline. And Marnes has tried, will stop at 4 with Bloom pulling that one to the left hand upright. But a fairly respectable scoreline for the Halifax Blue Sox at 36-22. Certainly one that I don't think anybody would have forecast at half time. Harris kicking off. Bloom tackled by Mackay on the 20. 5 minutes remaining. Mercer to Tickle. Hit by Senior. Well, they said the ball went forward. I'm not so sure about that. So perhaps one last chance for Leeds in the 4 minutes that remain. Joe Connolly not happy with the scrum. Goes at the second time of asking. Harris put down by Cardis on the Halifax 20. Powell, plenty of bodies round him. Halifax again could be suffering as they draw men into the middle, and Leeds stack up out wide. Sheridan into Dunneman and Mercer, and then forced to the ground. Matthew to Farrell. Farrell looking for a gap. Halifax closing it up in defence. Jackson, Harris pushed to the ground, and then Dunneman following up to make sure he stays there. Powell, long pass out to Sheridan, and Leeds have men over on the outside again. Sheridan goes on his own, going for the glory. Last tackle, good defence by Halifax. Barnhill messing about the play of the ball, and John Connolly's having words with Gary Mercer. Florrimore trying to drive away through the Leeds defence, gets it away to Firth. and Firth will make another 15 metres over the Leeds, the Halifax 30. Philosan takes it over the 40, and Halifax still managing to get over the advantage line. Moana sucked in this time by 2 and will go down, no chance of releasing the pass. Florimo to Mercer. Mercer away to Hobson. Hobson with a dummy. But the pass to Yestin Harris. Last desperate attempt by Halifax to keep it alive. Two minutes remaining with Leeds on their own 40-metre line. Harris to Mackay, pops it up again for Harris, turns it inside to Sheridan, off to Mackay, but the pass being given forward. And a penalty being given as well. Well, there's a rule that's come out of Ray from the grave, from the archives, a penalty for a deliberate forward pass. Hobson charging in towards that Leeds line, 10 metres away. Well, perhaps Halifax might have the last say, but time's up on the clock. Mercer to Firth, wrapped up by Farrell. Dunneman to Moana. Moana bringing Bloom on the inside. But 3 men in a position similar to that. Not this time though. Leeds defence move out to close him up. Dunneman out to Florimo. Florimo to Mercer. Mercer brought down 4 metres away. Dunneman from acting half to Firth. Out to Cardis. Cardis to Bloom. Bloom can't shrug the tackler off again. Last tackle, probably the last one of this match. Florimo out wide, well picked up by Gibson. Gibson back to Florimo. Florimo with a kick that's not really aimed anywhere, but will be taken out of the air by Andy Hobson. Ball comes out. That's, well, time's up on the clock. We're into injury time. Matthew on the Leeds 30. Plenty of racket out of the south stand, celebrating a 4th consecutive win for Dean Lance's men. Off goes Graham Mackay again, shrugs Marnes away, tries to kick around Cardis. Well, he won't beat Cardis for pace, won't Mackay. Cardis complaining that Mackay was being a bit heavy-handed there. Well, he's a heavy player. That's the end of the match. That's the last play. Well, certainly one to remember for both sets of supporters. Not one for Jim Gannon, who left the field after 20 minutes. And at 24 points to 6 at half-time, Leeds looked as though they were home and dry. A man advantage in the second half, and he would have put money on another 70 points. Especially when Senior helped himself to his 4th try just 6 minutes into the second half, converted by Harris, and it looked as though the floodgates were going to open, but Halifax dug deep with the 12 men, and a well-deserved try from Philosan and one from Martin Moana, 2 conversions from Bloom, and Halifax were back within 12 points at 30-18, and with 13 men might have got a lot closer, but a try from Sterling managing to evade his hand on the far side of the field and touchdown, just steadied a rocky Leeds ship. Harris converted, but Halifax had the last say when the ball went astray, and Marnes picked up from his own 10-metre line and raced 90 metres to the other end of the field to make the final score a respectable one for the Halifax Blue Sox with 12 men. A much needed one for Leeds, who are now back and pushing in the top 5. Final score at Headingley, Leeds Rhinos 36, Halifax Blue Sox 22.